One, and we are recording with Miss Claire Lopez on Thursday, January 2nd, 2025 at 1:12 p.m. Eastern Time. And everybody listening, please go to the description. Please go follow Claire on Twitter. You can find all the links to all of her writings. And as you just said, so I was gonna have you on New Year's Day, and obviously I didn't, and I told you that I wasn't feeling well, and blah blah blah. And as I was just telling you, I woke up the next day, and the first thing I heard about anything was a text from you saying, "Well, I have guess we have to talk about New Orleans." And I first thought was, "Oh crap!" And
Yeah.
obviously we have that terrorist attack, and then we have a Cybertruck blowing up yesterday in front of Trump Tower in Las Vegas, and then last night a mass shooting in Queens. So. Starting the year off on fire, I suppose.
Yeah, it really looks that way. The shooting in New York and Queens last night, I guess, is different than the other two. Apparently, that was some kind of I don't know, rowdy you know, group after a party or something. And I mean, it speaks to the lawlessness that's rampant in New York City, and the challenge in front of Eric Adams, the mayor, who does not seem to be handling things very well on the subway or anywhere else, despite his encouraging words that he's trying. But that put that aside, not to dismiss it, but
Sure.
it is different than the other two.
Okay.
Of course, New Year's Eve, middle of the wee hours of the morning of New Year's Day, really, the truck ramming in the French Quarter of New Orleans. And at the moment, that what I've heard is that the death count stands at, I think it's 15, although I've seen some reports say 14, um, with nearly 3 dozen injured in the hospital, and some of them very critical. And I hope no more, fatalities, but some of them are very seriously injured. Um, and then just about the same time of the, morning of New Year's Day yesterday, this electric Tesla vehicle, really ugly. These things look like they fell off a planet somewhere in outer space, but never mind. It was driven to the front door of Trump Hotel in Las Vegas, and then it blew up. And no, it had nothing to do with the battery or the fact that it was an electric vehicle, none of that. It was explosives inside that vehicle that blew up, apparently killing the driver, whose identification we just got this morning, I guess. That person inside of that car, Matthew A. Live Livesberger,
Yeah.
I think, 37-year-old, native of Colorado Springs in Colorado. He's a U.S. Army vet, Special Forces. He studied defense analysis and strategic studies at Norwich University. And interestingly, here, he served at the same military base somewhere in Colorado. I'm not sure the name of the base, but in Colorado with no, I'm sorry, Shamsuddin Jabbar, the suicide bomber in New Orleans, the
Wow.
suicide truck driver, I should say, in New Orleans, not bomber, and suicide truck bomber in New Orleans. The two of these former military guys served, I think, at the same time, but in any case, at the same Army military base in Colorado. Now, we know, which the FBI does not, they're utterly and totally clueless. We know that the Muslim Brotherhood controls the U.S. Armed Forces chaplain corps, in particular the Muslim chaplains. And both of these individuals, Las Vegas and in New Orleans, appear to have been converts. And somehow or other, converting to Islam gave them the idea that they ought to go kill people. Funny about that, but that's not the first time that has happened. So, unfortunately, as you're saying, Tommy, this year did not start off on a very good foot at all.
No, I didn't know that they went. I had seen this morning that the one guy was former Army, and I had known, I guess tangentially, the other guy was. I thought he was a contractor, but man, same. That's kind of insane. That's
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, the name of the New Orleans truck driver, that was an F-150 Ford pickup truck, electric powered. His name, um, looking here so I make sure I got it right. Where is he? Samsudin Jabbar. I don't know if that's his birth name or not. Sometimes when people convert to Islam, they take a new name, a different name. And I don't know if that is an assumed name or his birth name. But I will say that the name Jaber, that name itself, or Jabbar, I guess I should say maybe Jabbar, that so happens to be one of the 99 names of Allah. Do you know he had 99 names?
No.
This is one of them, and the meaning of this particular name, Jabbar, is one who compels, one who insists, one who demands that his way go, right? So again, I do not know if that's this person's birth name or an assumed name taken after conversion to Islam. But the point being, again, how does conversion to Islam persuade people that they need to go out and kill other people?
Well, it seems to kind of be like the only common theme of that.
But see, this is the one avenue that I do not see the FBI. FBI, of course, heads the Joint Terrorism Task Force that heads up these investigations now. Don't see any evidence at all that they have the slightest understanding of any of this, or the fact, that the place that they raided in Houston, Texas, yesterday, I guess they're still there today, um, was not actually Jabbar's home or residence. What it was a business, and the name of the business was called Khan Memories, Khan, Khan Memories. It's one of a number of such outlets or offices or of this company in and around Houston. I'm not quite sure what the business is, although we do know that Jabbar, after the military, did go into real estate, so perhaps it has something to do with that. But in any case, FBI raiding that place in Houston. Interestingly, that place is located on a street called Crescent Peak, Crescent Peak Drive, Crescent Peak Drive. Apropos, quite appropriate for what we're talking about here. And literally 1 block away from Khan Memories, the office outlet, is a mosque. And I do not know if that is the mosque where Jabbar was converted, indoctrinated. Um, but I do know that in jihad attacks like these, that the individual who is destined to become a shahid, I mean, he must have realized there's a very good chance he was going to be killed in this attack by probably law enforcement, which is indeed how it happened. Um, but before they go off on such an attack, they have to get, or they most often do get, I don't want to say, but blessing of their imam,
Hmm.
because they are on a holy mission as they would see it. They are off to become a shahid. You die in the act of jihad, of killing people, enemies, as they would see them, revelers, as it was on Bourbon Street in the French Quarter of New Orleans. But you die a shahid, and you are whisked immediately to paradise, they believe, to bask eternally in the presence of God, Allah. And if you're a man, at least, you have 72 virgins waiting for you. And there are other benefits. You get to broker into paradise an additional 70 members of your family who, along with you too, all of you get to skip the torments of the grave. Now, I don't know if people know what the torments of the grave are, but they're used to frighten little Muslim kids from knee high. And so it goes. They say that when you die and you're buried in the earth and you're tossing and turning and the worms are eating you and you're screaming and crying, and this goes on until the day of judgment, the end of times on the day of judgment, and you can't get out. Except if you die in the act of jihad as a shahid, or you get brokered in as one of the 70 relatives, you too can skip the torments of the grave. So all kinds of incentives, you see, for this kind of activity, these kinds of attacks. But point being that all of this for a convert would have come from a mosque and come from an imam who, again, would have chopped off, well, so to speak, on the proposed attack, the plot. So these are the kinds of things that we do not hear at all, from the investigating authorities, be they local, state, in Louisiana, or in Colorado, for that matter, or certainly at the federal level, at the level of the FBI, the Joint Terrorism Task Force. They have not a bloody clue about any of this, which means that not understanding what the motivation is, what the incentive, the motivations are for this kind of attack, they have no way of understanding how to prevent any such future attacks, because they have no idea what caused it. They're saying, oh, well, ISIS, inspired it. Well, number one, there is no more ISIS. ISIS changed its name 10 years ago in June of 2014 to simply IS, or Islamic State, precisely because they had expanded way beyond Iraq and al-Sham, North Africa, Afghanistan. So first of all, they don't even know what the name of the organization is anymore. Number two, they keep calling that flag that was flying from the back of Jabbar's truck, I guess, attached to the trailer hitch, as I saw it. But remember, in the first photos that came out, the flag was furled. It was all wrapped around the flag mast, so you really couldn't see the flag. But what it was, and what they're calling it now, is the ISIS flag. Well, number one, there is no ISIS. Number two, that's not an ISIS flag. What that is the flag of Islam and Jihad. And it literally actually dates back to the time of Muhammad himself in the 7th century. Yes, groups, Islamic terror groups like Al Qaeda, like the Islamic State, have used it, have flown it and showed it in their videos and so forth. But it's not their flag. It is the flag of Islamic Jihad, and on it, of course, a couple different versions. The older one is the one where you see the circle, kind of a white circle, and the letters are written around, in Arabic, around that circle. And the other version of that, on a black field, the other version is the stylized calligraphy script, actually. But what both of them say is La ilaha illallah wa Muhammad Rasulullah, which means there is no God but Allah and Muhammad is his prophet, which of course is the statement of faith, the pledge to Islam of every Muslim. So instead of describing it like that as to what it really is, they're so it's the ISIS flag. Well, no, it's not, and you haven't even begun to explain what that flag really means, or why Jabbar would have been flying that flag on his truck. Yes, apparently he had social media posts, that indicated his affiliation, or his support, maybe I should say, for groups like the Islamic State and so forth. But where did he get that? Where'd that come from? Nobody's asking that.
That was insanely impressive that you could recite that. That was wild.
Well, remember, this is kind of what I do, so
Yeah,
um,
it's still
for a very
awesome.
long time.
It's still awesome.
So
Um, Yeah, but so I guess so. I guess the primary question would be, at least for me, is are these just kind of like an ongoing, this is kind of the eternal jihad, or
Yes.
is it that these two are, or maybe I should say, and or are they related? Is it proximity to Trump's inauguration? Is it because sure, terrorist attacks happen all the time. I get that.
Yeah. Well, I
Is
mean, it
this
could be kind of all of the above. There is a verse in the Quran. I think it's 839. Someone will correct me if I've got that wrong. But in any case, what the verse says is, fight jihad until all the world be for Allah alone. Until all the world be for Allah alone. So yes, that is a never-ending fight of the Dar al-Islam, House of Islam, versus the Dar al-Harb, House of War, those places not yet subjugated to Islamic law or Sharia. And so, yes, to your question, it is ongoing and it is taught at every mosque, Islamic center, madrasa, university in the world that is Islamic. And that goes for the many, many hundreds of madrasas, mosques, thousands, Islamic centers right here in the United States, which of course is where these two individuals, in probably different places, but that they first came in contact. Perhaps it was at the military, with a Muslim chaplain. That needs to be looked at, but I doubt anyone will. But in any case, that is where they learned this indoctrination from an imam, be it at the Muslim chaplain corps of the army, be it at a mosque, be it at both. Um, and so, yes, the other thing you said, that we're getting ever closer. I think it's what, 19 days now
18?
until President Trump's inauguration as the 47th president. And this is a very vulnerable period of time between, I would say, our presidential election held back on November the 5th and the inauguration. It's quite a long, stretch of time in between until January 20th, later this month for the inauguration. But more, even more, I guess, troubling is that while President Trump is not yet inaugurated, not yet in office, the current president, who is president until January the 20th, that being Joe Biden, is nowhere to be found. I heard that he was on vacation in the Caribbean. I read somewhere that he came back and he's going on vacation to, where is it? Delaware, I think, somewhere. Vice President Kamala Harris, after, losing that election back in November, also nowhere to be found. I heard that she and her husband went on vacation to Hawaii. And as for anything after that, I don't know where she is, but we don't see anything or hear. So the point being, that this is a vulnerable time for the United States because we have no leadership in office, officially in office. Um, President Trump is acting and being received more as the president of the United States, even though he's not yet inaugurated, more so even than Joe Biden, because Biden and Harris are just AWOL. I mean, they've been AWOL for a long time, but it's especially noticeable now. And I think it's dangerous.
Yeah, no, it clearly is. In the kind of 18-day window is didn't China do like a naval blockade, I think?
Another naval
Like dry run.
exercise,
I think it
not
wasn't
just
it
naval, but Air Force too. Yeah.
wasn't it Japan though, not Taiwan? I thought I saw that they did it around Japan.
Um, well, I mean, the islands of Japan are very close to outlying islands of Taiwan. So anytime that the Chinese Communist Party, Beijing, conducts these sorts of exercises with their Navy, with their Air Force, they're very close to, in proximity of Japan's islands as well, which is why, of course, Japan rightly, understandably, feels threatened. Um, and is building up its own defenses.
Do you think that is it too soon to tell? It kind of seems like the window is closing and China is not is not going for it in this window. I feel like they would have immediate. Not that I have
I
any.
don't know.
You
I
don't.
don't
You don't.
know. I
What do
mean,
you think could?
I hear you. The window of time certainly is closing. Um, it's less than 3 weeks to go before the Trump inauguration. And one might have thought, with all of the exercises that had conducted over these last months of 2024, that China might launch the actual attempt against Taiwan. But you're right, it hasn't happened so far. Lots of bluster and threats, and these exercises repeated over and over again that show a a way that China can and maybe intends to surround Taiwan and blockade it. So we know, of course, Taiwan needs to import a great deal, majority of its food and its fuel. And so that practice, those military exercises of a blockade, need to be taken very seriously. But will they actually go for the final actual, attempt to take over Taiwan in these last few weeks before Trump takes office? Don't know.
What do you think we're gearing up for? I think we talked about this last time about border, but it is kind of solidifying more and more. Like you said, yeah, there's something kind of just there's something kind of objectively funny about Trump just holding court in a Golden Palace in Florida. Like it's just kind of like in the
The
pres
Winter Palace,
and
right?
there's just like and there's just no one at the White House. There is something. I mean, not good. It's certainly not good for power. I get all that, but I mean, just in a vacuum, if we can allow ourselves to smile, there is something just kind of funny about you, just
It's
Florida
amazing
man.
to watch. I mean, yeah, absolutely, you're right. And we'll recall, of course, very soon after Trump made his comments about Canada and perhaps it becoming our 51st state. Who was on an airplane, Mach 10 heading for Mar-a-Lago? Well, it was Prime Minister Justin Trudeau of Canada,
Governor Trudeau.
Governor Trudeau, as Trump, trolls him. Um, to I guess attempt to stave off crippling sanctions that Trump has talked about. But the truth is that Canada has not, you know, guarded its own border and those criminals, both illegal alien criminals and also drug trafficking criminals, block that from coming, from the Canadian border down across into the United States. That's absolutely true. And when Trump talks about the sanctions, what he's referring to is if Canada does not take serious steps to address these problems. And no, the invasion of illegal aliens is not on the scale that we see with our southern border with Mexico. There is a very serious drug trafficking issue, including especially fentanyl, and it comes from the same places. The precursor chemicals come to Canada from China, just as they do to Mexico, where the local gangs mix them up. And I don't mean the Mexican cartels, not in Canada, but local criminal outfits in Canada mix up the precursor chemicals, press out the pills, and then they're coming across our northern border into the US. So, this is what Trump was referring to when he's talking about national security. It's a very serious issue. And this ties in, by the way, as well to Greenland and his offer once again to purchase Greenland, which is a self-governing entity, but it is administratively, I guess, owned by Denmark. Um, but what Trump is referring to there is that kind of at the top of the world, if you
Hmm.
will, in the Arctic, China and Russia, Alaska certainly, and Canada too, all converge on that part of the globe. And as perhaps some of the shipping passageways shed ice and open up a little bit, maybe, um, those shipping passageways, waterways become, more and more important, and in particular, vis-a-vis threats from Russia, from China. So having Greenland, were they ever to agree actually to be sold to us, um, they not only would help to guard those seaways, those waterway passageways up there by the Arctic. But as well, Greenland, it's not actually very green. It's very cold and icy, actually. And Iceland is kind of green, so
Yeah.
it's like vice versa. But in any case, Greenland has a lot of natural resources, in particular, rare earth minerals that are critical for not only, modern technology of all kinds, defense industries, but these electric batteries that people are so keen about, and those are resources that President Trump and the United States are not especially keen to see falling into the hands of China. So there's that aspect of national security too.
As well as Panama, right?
Right. So let's go down to Panama. Of course, as we all know, the United States built that canal to the loss of a couple tens of thousands of the workers died, actually.
Like
I mean, a lot of that was due to
18,000 or 36,000.
it's a huge number.
Yeah.
I thought it was somewhere in the 20,000s, but a lot of that due to malaria, rampant malaria down there at the time. Um, but so we built it, and managed it, ran it under two treaties. Let's see, there's the Neutrality Treaty. I'm looking at my notes here somewhere. Well, anyway, the Neutrality Treaty and the Panama Canal Treaty. But the Neutrality Treaty is the one that guarantees the United States the right to operate the canal and to use it. It's incredibly important for, not just the United States, yes, especially United States, shipping traffic, from the Pacific to the Caribbean and the outlet to the Atlantic Ocean on that side, but to the world, to global commerce as well. And what President Trump is accusing the Panamanians of is charging us exorbitant passage fees for our ships to go through the canal. But he also alludes once again to national security. And here's where people need to take note, and that is that at either end of that canal, on the Pacific side, on the Caribbean side, there are ports, and both of those ports are owned and operated by China, by the Communist Chinese Party of Beijing. That is not in keeping with the, national security clauses of the neutrality treaty, in addition to other properties in the canal zone that the Chinese communists are snapping up, and elsewhere throughout Central America and South America too. So these are very serious national security issues, and in a way, Trump is kind of reverting back to the Monroe Doctrine, which in its day was actually aimed at European powers like France and England, that they wanted the United States and at the time our leadership wanted to keep at bay out of the Western Hemisphere. But today, those aren't our concerns at all. We're not concerned about Britain or France, either one of them. But we are concerned about China. And so I think it's kind of a refocusing, on the new hegemonic or would-be hegemonic power that's got the Belt and Road Initiative, various projects all over Central, South America, and the Caribbean.
There is something I'm reading a book right now. It's called How to Hide an Empire by Daniel Immervar. I don't know. Um but it's kind of about just the growing United States, and it is kind of, I guess, convenient or coincidental that I'm reading it now.
Mm.
But you do kind of he points out the obvious thing, and it's when we look at it in hindsight, it all seems so buttoned up. Well, we were here, and then there was the war and independence, and then we added this and this and this and this, and then we did da 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 and sea to shining sea and the end. But at each expansion leading up to it was almost like a total scoffing of like, we're not going to buy new land. That's a different country, or that's not ours, or what are you talking about? The United States is big enough. And then we get these giant parcels or tiny parcels, and it's like what's the thing about like it's like the quote about truth. It's first it's mocked, then it's violently rejected, and finally it's accepted as self-evident.
Hmm.
You kind of see this now. I don't know how accurate this book is, or if the author's biased, whatever. But it kind of goes to the same thing with like every expansion, be it the Louisiana Purchase or be it Texas or Hawaii, or it's always the same. Like, what are you high? Like, we're not adding more land. We
Alaska.
have we have 44 states. We don't. That's the, and then it happens. There's military and economic and resource advantages, and then we accept it as self-evident. And
And
so it does
yeah,
kind of seem like it does seem like Trump just being Trump, but it's also this is what it felt like every time before the
yeah,
United States expanded. And
yeah.
when you look at it in that light, it in 100 years it might be like we're not buying Mexico. Listen, there's the 55 states of America, and you see Greenland and Canada and Panama, and you'd be like, yeah, no, that's always been that way. And it's like, well, no, it hasn't always been that way. It's
Yeah.
just a long
Well, I mean,
time.
Greenland, of course, depends, and we wouldn't do it without, the approval, the goodwill, the agreement of the people of Greenland, as well as, of course, the government of Denmark. And but in the case of Panama, um, that's treaty provisions that Trump is referring to, as well as the very real threat of the hegemony, the expansion of the Chinese Communist Party there over one of the eight most critical straits, waterways in the world. Panama is one of the eight. But with Canada, it's almost a little bit of art of the deal, right? Threatening Trudeau and the Canadian government with these hefty sanctions if they don't take steps to curtail the cross-border illegal alien flow, as well as of the narcotics, especially fentanyl. So in some ways, Trump, I mean, way before he even is taking office, right, is kind of setting the scene and laying expectations that might go in different directions once he's actually in office. But what he's hoping to do, I think, in particular, like with Canada, let's say, is to exact a certain action. In other words, guard your border and stop this stuff coming through. Not that we would, probably ever get to the point, well, I hope we don't, of imposing 25% sanctions on Canadian goods. Let's hope not. But he's laying, the predicate. You guys got to take care of this, or we really will impose the sanctions. So even before he's president, he's setting the scene. He's laying the predicates for when he actually does take office, by which time we are hopeful that places like Canada. I don't know what Panama can do about the Chinese, but I think we're going to have to be involved for sure in that. But that these things then he's already laid out the scenario. You know what I mean? In military terms, it would be called preparation of the battlefield, right?
Mm. Yeah, no, it would be kind of cool. I think it would just kind of be cool if you had Alaska, Canada, Greenland. It should be Fortress America.
There
Um,
are Canadians who would not mind at all becoming the 51st state. I've got some friends up there who told me that over the
yeah,
last couple of days.
yeah, I don't think they would either. Um, but yeah, so still 18 days away. So hoping that, you know, and praying that we don't see 18 more days of chaos, but
Yeah, really.
I'm
We don't
not
need any more of that.
I'm not too certain that we won't see it,
Yeah, me
which is
neither.
bad. But Miss Lopez, we gotta wrap this up because like I told you, I feel awful. But
Okay.
for everybody listening, please go in the description. Please go follow Claire on Twitter, and all that good stuff. Uh, yeah, Claire, thank you so much for your time as
All
always.
right. Certainly. Take care of yourself. Be well.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'll catch you next time. But in the meantime, Happy New Year.
Thank you very much, you as well. And to everybody listening,
Thank you.
Happy New Year. Got a good year ahead of us, so let's make it good. So thank you so much for your time, Claire. Guys, thank you for
Certainly.
watching. Take